already. I was just quickly trying to tweet out that we're live. And I was also trying to put it on Blue Sky. I don't know if people know about Blue Sky yet, but new to it, new social media app. But if you're new to this stream, and I already see someone watching, they said, "Yay, a new stream." I'm glad to see one for startups. Awesome. If you are new to this stream, it's a weekly stream that I do, or a weekly show called Started Up Wednesday, where I chat with startup founders about their projects. A lot of these people are part of the GitHub for Startups program. And I'll talk a little bit more about GitHub for Startups near the end of our stream. But basically, this is a program that helps to empower new startups in leveraging GitHub, giving them the features that they need, giving them extra seats for, or not extra seats, but giving them seats for their enterprise companies for a year. And I'll go into more detail near the end. But I definitely want y'all to, instead of focusing on that for now, focus on our guest today named Moiz. I'll let him introduce himself, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Thank you so much, Rizal, and the entire GitHub community. It's been an amazing experience. I mean, starting up, it's literally, first line of code. I think it literally started with GitHub, and now it's been a magical couple of years with the startup, ending up here. It's always like a dream sort of come true. So yeah, excited to be here. And in very short introduction, so I'm Moiz. I am founder and CEO of Grandeur. It's a two-year-old startup, and we're building Firebase of IoT. In one sentence, I would describe this platform as, we trying to reinvent cloud for hardware developers. And the ambition is to make it possible for more and more developers to get started into hardware and IoT space, building smart devices. For example, building next Tesla, or next, could be like Lime or smart bikes, or all these examples there. So yeah, that is a very, very short introduction. Yeah.
Love it. Wait, also love that you were like, it's interesting that you wrote your first lines of code on GitHub. And now you're building a startup on GitHub. I feel like I don't know if it's just me, but I also relate with you, and like I can just think back to years when I first tried to code on GitHub, and now I work at GitHub. So it's like a full circle moment for everyone.
Yeah.
Also, I'm really excited. When you described yourself as the Firebase of IoT, I saw, or the company, I saw that on your website or somewhere that you described it that way, and I was like, that seems really interesting. And I do feel like maybe it's because I'm not embedded into the hardware industry, but I don't see that much things that are happening for it. I don't see people making the cloud for hardware, making things easier and more accessible for people to get started. So I'm really excited to learn more. I do want to quickly say hi to a couple of people that are in the chat already. I love to like interact with folks. So someone said hi everyone on Twitch. So hey back. I know Garrett from the GitHub for Startups team is watching, so he did a little wave, and people are just saying happy to be here. Feel free to tell me where you're tuning in from. I love to see like people from all over the country. Sometimes it's like, or not the country, all over the world. Sometimes it's people from India, sometimes it's people from Portugal. So I love that. So you gave like a little one liner about your project. Do you want to tell us the name of it? I don't think we haven't said the name, and maybe give a little bit more detail.
Yeah. About the name of the company,
Yeah.
or like.
Sorry. Of the company in general. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I think that is where I feel really excited about. I mean, so when we started in this space, there were always this, desire that why hardware sucks. I mean, why cannot you start your own IoT startup? Pretty much how you can start a software startup of your own. I mean, you don't need a CS degree to start a next, for example, Facebook. And
Right.
why do you need so many expertise to probably start next Tesla? And that was this desire, and we started figuring out and dividing everything into bits and pieces, and we figured out it's just a lot of learning. You want to start next Tesla, you need your own hardware, you need to learn your own how to build applications, and then also how to literally go ahead and make that devices talk to each other or talk to the end users. So like very simple example, think of the next thermostat in your home. If you want to go ahead and start that startup, uh, there are like shitloads of steps and a lot of engineering that you just require to done in order to just go to market. So that is what we wanted to solve. We figured out that hardware engineers, they're very good with hardware, but software, it just don't make sense, and it just takes a lot of time for them to just figure it out. So what if we could just make, for example, AWS more accessible, like maybe Heroku of IoT or like Firebase of IoT? Like, why do we need to set up IAM roles just to bring one device online? I mean,
Um,
it needs to be simple, accessible. You could just code. You don't need to manage infrastructure. That was the idea. So minus all the infrastructure, minus all the app development, you're live as soon as you have a hardware ready.
I love that. I actually think that's great. I feel like that could be a barrier to entry for a lot of folks, like you're saying. And yeah, like, why isn't it just as easy as like software? Like, people built Blue Sky or Twitter or whatever, just like everyone's always talking about, oh, I just did this in my garage or my basement. But with like a hardware startup, it does seem like you have to get a lot of different tools and have a lot of different knowledge. So I'm really excited to see this. And I love and I understand the inspiration you have behind this. So do you have a? I'm just curious. You have like a hardware engineering background or something?
Yeah, I am an electrical engineer, and actually, so does most of my team. And
Oh,
this is how it started. We, fortunately, we started as a hardware startup, so we wanted to build smart home devices, and started as a kid when I wanted all of my devices to talk to me. I mean, I was just too lazy, and I wanted my air conditioner to just turn on in itself whenever I want, or maybe my lights to automate. So that is where it started, and we were like, this is doable. Let's do it. And then I think it took us a couple of years just to figure out the hardware, and then another year to figure out the software. And by the time we were, just had an MVP, we were pretty much out of budget to just go live. There was not enough budget for us to go and manufacture a device. So, it took us so much time. There was so much burnout, and there was so much also burnout in terms of finances
yeah.
that our hardware startup failed, and that was the aha moment.
Mhm.
What if we could make it possible? What if you could sort of like modernize the dev tool in the space and just make it possible for more and more people to build these experiences? And frankly speaking, it is very heartwarming to see what people actually go ahead and build. So right now, one company based out of Pakistan, many different places in the world, but that inspired me a lot. They were working on this platform, and they were creating distributed grid stations. So these
Oh,
are grid stations at remote places, totally automated. It's a worker sitting thousands of miles away, just remotely monitoring those devices. Uh, and it was enabling government to provide electricity to very remote places where it's remotely impossible before. So that is exciting to see such sort of detail, very futuristic technologies coming up to sort of life in remote areas and all over the world. So yeah.
that's so, first of all, that's so cool to see people building with your project, with your tool. Like, that's, I'm sure that's an awesome feeling where you're like, actually, this is useful to people. And I love the story of like how y'all took your startup, that the initial startup that didn't do that well, and you learned from it, and you were like, maybe this is the problem. We should be solving for other hardware startups that
Yeah.
need more assistance with this. And I'm like thinking about other industries too. Like, I feel like the software industry is one of the ones that it's like easy to start a business, but in other cases, other industries it might not be. All right, well, um I feel like I got a good idea of what you do, but I want to be able to see it live. So are you ready to give us a
I,
demo?
I'm totally ready and love to. So yeah.
Awesome. I'm gonna wait for you to. Right now, I see like our StreamYard image, so I'm gonna wait for it to just quickly switch.
Uh,
Sorry.
can you see my screen now?
I see the screen, but it's like of us, or it's of StreamYard. Yeah.
Sure.
In the meantime, I'll highlight people who the different countries they're coming from. Someone said
I'm
they're
checking
watching
my
from
screen
Cape
now.
Verde. Oh, sorry. Yep. Oh, it's there. Awesome. Here we go. And I'll move.
Uh, so, I was talking about the problem, and let's a little bit dig a little bit deeper on how this platform functions. So, if you consider any IoT device, it is basically this tiny computer or something similar to that, which work with hardware sensors, and you can build many different, for example, applications like internet switch. Maybe an internet switch is probably a device which is a bulb maybe, or a light maybe, which is controlled from an application, or maybe an air conditioner which could be managed through an application. So all those applications, one of the major component of these products or devices is the data communication part. So like imagine you have a device, it needs all the authentication, storage, and then communication, and then you have an end application where you can either monitor the data or could send commands. So this is where Grandeur sort of like gets plugged in. Previously, developers were building it themselves on their own from scratch on top of existing cloud providers. But we were like, what if we could just build an integration layer and you don't have to build these individual components on your own? So this is how it functions. We just have a simple dashboard. You just go ahead and, for example, give your device a unique name. And right now, for example, we're creating a smart heater, maybe. It gives you a device ID and a authentication token. And then we have all these, SDKs or libraries for major hardware platform. For example, we have SDKs for Arduino. We have, SDKs for Python and Raspberry Pi, and all these hobbyist platform, but also some of those, very production-ready devices. For example, one that I'm holding in my hand right now is called ESP8266. It's a tiny computer.
Cool.
Very, very limited processing power, but it can do magical stuff. It can connect to internet through Wi-Fi, and then it can talk to an application. So here in this case, as soon as you have these your authentication keys, you can go ahead and use our SDK in your code.
Okay.
Just provide your credentials and just provide maybe credentials for the Wi-Fi endpoint, and the device comes online pretty much instantly. So right now, let's go ahead and probably run this device. So run this code on this device.
What's gonna happen? I'm excited.
It's gonna take a little bit, just a second. It takes a little bit to, So the code is now, sort of like uploading onto this tiny computer, and
Wow.
it will be up in a second.
Okay, that's so cool. While we wait, I saw the word pub sub, like you wrote authentication. I know what that is. And there was storage. So I'm like, okay, your project, your company's handling authentication storage, but what is pub sub?
PubSub is where your devices need to send messages to applications or vice versa.
Okay.
So your applications, so it's like a messaging. It's in a short term. So not only like WhatsApp between your devices and applications. We automate that. You don't need to build that data communication between your devices and application. Not only those messages gets transferred instantaneously, but those messages also get stored so that you could then go ahead and analyze all that data. So imagine you have a thermostat which is sending over live temperature, every second and so.
Yeah.
So first of all, a developer can build an application that can help you as a developer, as a user, send those messages to your thermostat, like, set the temperature to this number. And along with that, you can also save an historical data, and you can probably see a graph or something similar to that. So it's connected. The device is connected. It is, online now. And now you can go ahead and, for example, so we have along with this, so your device comes online minus all the coding that you were previously required to do. You just simply worked on your device, nothing else.
Wow.
And then you can go ahead and, use our drag and drop dashboard builder and literally play with your device. So for example, right now, if you can see, there's this tiny LED, if you can see. So when I will click this will sort of like change. I hope you can see.
Yeah.
So this is all happening.
Wait, it lit up when you press set? Or can I make sure that's what happened? When you press the word set, your little computer device lit up. Wow. Cool.
So everything, all this control is happening in real time over internet, sort of literally instantaneously. And it's just a start. You can build many different applications. For example, you can attach some sensors to it, monitor your temperature, and start a feed of the current temperature. the, I, the idea is it just takes that entire communication and data storage out of stack, so you can just focus on building a great hardware. uh, so for example, you can update the name of the switches as well, so let's just call it a switch. Right now, for this is more or less like a smart lamp, maybe like a simulation. You can attach a lamp to it and it can actually function. You can turn on a lamp over internet with this, and it took us 5 minutes to build it.
Wow. Yeah, it was so quick. And this is reminding me of like the concept of like message brokers
Yeah,
in software where it like sends it does the communication part. So you're taking away all that. We
yeah.
don't have to worry about that. We can just press a button on our website and it'll do things.
And it's also very, very fast. So for example, if I take it now here and open it another window, maybe I hope you can still see my screen. So for example, I have this, and it also comes with all these integrations, so you can build your own custom application, or
Yeah.
maybe use no code builders like I have right now, Retool. And it just takes literally milliseconds for the data to get transferred between, get synced all across different places. So this is a little bit slower, but if I open another window of Canvas, it will be much more instantaneous.
Okay.
So I hope it can. Yeah, it's a bit messy,
No.
but just look at this. The speed. It's synced.
Oh.
Uh, we just take it out of the equation for developers. You don't need to build it yourself. You're live as soon as your hardware is ready. So yeah.
That's awesome. And then what can you do so maybe I'm going ahead, but the retool part, how does that integrate into it?
So we have all these integrations. We have integrations with Grafana, which is a modern visualization tool,
Yeah.
and we have integration with IFTTT or Zapier, or maybe Retool is a no-code app builder. So you can just once your devices devices and data is on the platform, then you can just go ahead and build all those custom experiences. So maybe you have Ring in your home, and Ring have its own app, and you can monitor a live stream of your all the doorbells or all the cameras in your home. You can build a similar experience with Grandeur. You don't have to have that kind of infrastructure or build that kind of infrastructure on your own. You can just get all those amazing features out of the box, and this is the core sort of like the value addition of our platform. It's secure. You can store millions of literally data points. Think of thousands of sensors, thousands of devices, and it's very fast and open-ended, so you can bring your own hardware.
Wow. This is like I'm blown away. Why hasn't someone thought of this before? I don't know. This is awesome. Like at first, and to think that like it can integrate with any app that you want. Like if you're like, oh, I want to be able to do this with a GitHub action, or you gave an example of another tool. I
Yeah, in
just
fact, you can build your own, for example, actions.
Ooh.
We have a JavaScript SDK, a Node.js SDK, where you can start a monitoring or whatever you. So the only limit is the imagination. We become that communication black hole. So think of it like a sort of like a time travel, or not like a time travel, but like a magical door between this device and your application. You can build your own custom applications, or you can use these no-code builders, and we become that communication gateway.
Yeah, that was awesome. And then even just looking at the initial like demo code that you wrote, it wasn't a lot of lines of code.
Yeah,
Like that's
it's
another thing.
less than 100, about 100 lines of code.
Yeah, that's really not a lot. You just connect it to the Wi-Fi, you set it up, and then you're just doing a loop. Like this is
And it's
awesome.
also, this is device logs in real time. So it's, if all
Oh,
the data gets to the device in milliseconds, literally.
that's crazy. Wow, awesome. I mean, I'm gonna highlight just some people saying
Yeah.
stuff. Somebody said like they were trying to think of it as well as me. They were like, so basically, what's the difference with an MQTT broker? But then I think they realized after they said, oh, the producer and consumer are automatically linked. They said that's cool. Someone said interesting. I don't know if this is safe for work, but someone said this is lit. Just putting that out there. Also, Alex from the startups team said, very cool. You mentioned a lamp as a piece of hardware that I could use this for. So, in essence, so I can, in, essence, create a central place to control my whole house.
Uh, Actually, so the way I describe it, first of all, to answer that question, how it is different from MQTT brokers, I describe it as a hosted MQTT broker, where
Mhm.
you don't have to do it yourself. You don't have to manage those machines yourself. And
Okay.
there, batteries included. So MQTT by default, you have to make it secure. You have to add all those authentications, manage it. I remember working with one developer from Bangladesh, and he was initially working with MQTT brokers, popular ones, and then he switched to our platform because it's managed, it's scalable, it
Oh,
scales automatically. To answer the other questions, like how it works with it's ideally meant for hardware developers, manufacturers. Yes, you can build or make your own home smart, but for example, it is meant for people who are building next Tesla. So I worked with a company who were building a Tesla for bikes. And they wanted to have a companion application where anyone or any user can go ahead and unlock that bike from the application, or probably could do get notifications for maintenance. And they had this crazy vision that at some point in time they want the bike to automatically go to a repair shop and get it repaired itself.
wow.
uh, that is the kind of ideas which are possible. So probably you can go ahead and build a smart lamp. I mean, that is a vision at some point. I want Rizal or anyone with the decent programming knowledge to go ahead and build anything.
Yeah.
But right now, it is ideally meant for people who want to start this next startups in hardware domain.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So me and Alex were thinking more in a smaller sense because even before I chatted with you, part of the description, I was like, do you like building smart home devices? But I wasn't thinking of like how powerful this could be for, like you said, a Tesla like product. So this
Yeah,
is really, really awesome.
and
Um, oh, go ahead.
just to add, I mean, this is the sort of like long-term perspective of it. We wanted to bring that scale, that accessibility, and just make it very easy for anyone to get started.
Yeah.
And that is how I draw this very parallel with Heroku or Firebase. Firebase is an even better sort of like an analogy for our platform.
Yeah, yeah, it is very much like a
Yeah.
Firebase for IoT. This question's not on our list, but when you showed us those projects that you had that were open source, I was just curious of the strategy. Just for other people who are building startups, do you open source the SDKs so anyone can add to it? And anyone in the community can continue to build up on it, and then you keep the rest of the code closed source. Is that the strategy?
So at this point, most of the code is closed source, and majorly the SDKs are public
Okay.
because we were working on it. We're trying to get better at this, but at the core, we want to at some point just open source the entire thing. I mean, it
Oh,
goes. The idea is, open core. How you see Supabase and all these amazing platforms right now.
yeah.
It gives the developers more sense of safety, understanding, and it also just empowers the platform at large. More and more developers collaborate. They make it better for you. They make it better for the entire community. I mean, I've learned from GitHub. I still see so much content that you guys publish, and it just I remember one content that I read from very early on 2008, I guess. It was not an open source repository. It was just a blog, and I changed a lot of things inside the team because it was about how GitHub is managing infrastructure. And it
Mm.
was so cool and so awesome. And it was from very early on in very early days. That is the kind of the focus is. You build something, you put it out there, community just take it to the entirely other stage. And that has happened with our SDKs. We published one SDK, someone got inspired, they helped us build another SDK. And they helped us, for example, build this canvas. This was not part of the platform on day one.
Yeah.
So people inspire developers, amazing group of people.
I love it. Yeah, I always like to hear from the perspective of a founder and like their strategy that they're using to whether they choose to open source or close source or eventually go open core or whatever. So this was great. Because I think it's just good to see from like why you made the decisions because everybody has different reasons why they need to do things. And I like that you pointed out that part of open source and learning in public is being able to inspire other developers on like how they can also take things on their own. And then I kind of feel like it makes you become a leader within that industry, because they're like, oh, okay, that's how that company's doing that. I didn't even think of that perspective, and then people
Yep.
start
Yep.
following up on that method. That's awesome. Um,
Yep.
so you showed us a couple of, and I didn't get to backstage talk to you about this too much, but you showed us a couple of repositories. Are there any other tools within GitHub that you leverage within your team, like GitHub Actions or Codespaces or
Yep.
Copilot, that have helped that have been beneficial for your company?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, being on this GitHub startups program, it's been I think over 5 6 months now,
Wow.
and I think very honestly, we use a lot of GitHub. I mean, the entire company is on GitHub,
Yeah.
but something that I love the most is the communication. So people who have a lot more experience in managing open source communities and managing open source tools, they're always there to help you guys, all the startup team.
Yeah.
So whenever there's a query on how to, for example, right now open source strategy, we have all these SDKs open source, so it attracts all these developers to collaborate, and I think GitHub has now turned into this marketplace of sort where
Yeah.
people can see your work and collaborate with yours. That was the most exciting part. Along with that, love the project management part, the PR parts. It helped us a lot. The other major tool that we use, I think now I'm also part of the beta projects of GitHub. So
Oh,
other tool which is coming now, probably will be here soon. I love that it's the new no code sort of like builder for the homepage of GitHub.
yeah.
Uh, it's coming soon, I guess. I don't know if most of the developers have the access for that. I think I love GitHub Workspaces as well. We use GitHub Editor all the time whenever we need to do PR reviews. It's super helpful. You don't need to jump screens.
Yeah.
Uh, but I guess the part that I love the most is just the PR, the issues, communication, uh, you know, and then I think the alerts that you get as an open source project manager, it gets trickier
Yeah.
to fight all those vulnerabilities. Uh, I think I cannot imagine the startup works so seamless without all the tools that is there for us. I mean, it's literally, I haven't imagined another, for example, version for us. It's so seamless that it just, we don't need to ever overthink about it. That is actually the exciting part. Uh,
Yeah, it sounds like you're using it to its full extent. Even the GitHub editor, I agree. I love that, because now you're like, I don't have to clone this project. I can
yeah.
just quickly make an edit or quickly write a comment or whatever that's needed, um just within my browser. My other question to you is just more to your experience as a startup founder and less on the technical section. It's just like, what challenges have you encountered? I think when we encourage people to be like startup founders or maintainers, or we're like, go do your own thing, it's only like the positives. But what negatives have you faced so that people can be prepared?
Oh, yeah. This is a tough question. Tough questions because obviously, I think one of the thing about startup is it's when you start a startup for startup's sake, it becomes very trickier. So I
Yeah.
think one very core advice for all the friends and the founders out there, probably started like a project. And this is where again, I'm gonna plug GitHub. I mean, create a project, see if it's taking off. This is why I love that open core strategy.
Yeah.
Put your code, your stuff out there, let people play with it, and then start a for profit or probably like a business. For
Mm,
projects, I always encourage people start as much as project possible
okay.
and put it out there, write about it. So start with being a maintainer, and then let's see if there's a pull, and then start a business.
Yeah.
I think for that reference, communities, they give you this strong platform. Hacker News, we have GitHub community. So in hardware, we have a platform which is called Instructables and Hackster. And I always encourage all of my people and founders who are using our platform that put it out there. Let people know what you're building. uh, Reddit is, for example, another example. I will ask all the founders to be there
Wow.
and also take the feedback. It's difficult to take feedback when you, for example, like a coder, you love your code, you love your creation, um, and that's also a fulfilling part. People, they give you feedback on something that you've created out of your, for example, a garage or maybe your couch. That is exciting part.
Yeah. No, this is good advice. I never really heard a founder say this, but that's true. Start off being a maintainer because oftentimes maintainers are kind of like the CEO of the open source project. So you get that experience. And then that's a good point of don't get too connected to your code.
Yeah,
Because I do get connected to my code. People give me feedback. They're like, they said they hate it, but that's not the case. It's not.
yeah,
It's just here's how to improve, or here's what your users want to see out of the product.
yeah.
Because it's like you're not building this for yourself anymore. You're building it for your users. We have this question here. I'm not sure if this is a hard question. I don't know, but it's from the audience. There, and it might not be necessarily related to you, but they're just curious of how developers choose what locations to deploy devices to. I guess they're talking
Uh,
about hardware
I
devices.
think there can be two perspectives with these questions. One is if you want to like build devices, you can build it wherever you want, deploy it wherever you want. It's a sort of like a globally accessible solution. You don't need to be like in a specific geography. I hope this answers part of the question. Another way to answer this is obviously right now most of the servers that we have is ideally based in America, so we provide best service in America or
Mhm.
US, but we're hopefully trying to build this global CDN for hardware devices. So wherever your device are, wherever you as a team are, or probably wherever your users are, it needs to be accessible there. And it's not self-hosted; it's managed right now. So you don't need to like think of any hosting or anything or deployment. It just sign in and it's ready.
That's awesome. It sounds like it's hard to make it accessible to like globally, but that's awesome that that's the goal that you're
Yeah,
going towards. That's
yeah, it's a serious challenge. Making it work seamlessly everywhere. It's a GitHub challenge. I mean, literally the kind of scale.
yes. I'm curious, like, how do you end up prioritizing like different features for your product? Because it's
Yeah.
both a hardware like and software type of product. So how do you like prioritize that?
Uh, Again, that was the very tricky part to learn, what to build.
Yeah.
And so I'd say it's 50, I mean 60-40, I guess.
Okay.
It's going to sound a little bit, so 60% user feedback and 40% your intuition.
Mhm.
Why I say that? I mean, for most startup founders, they give this idea that just follow the users, and it makes sense to me. But my perspective is take feedback from users and then apply your perspective to it and build it. That is how I prioritize. So, for example, for a long period of time, people wanted this, data storage, large scale data storage in the platform.
Mhm.
One option was to probably just, build it. Probably add an integration out of the box. I mean, integration for MongoDB, or how there's a data store product in Firebase or data store product in Superbase. That
Mm.
was one idea. But we were like, how a hardware engineer would use it.
Mhm.
So we're now coming up with this feature which is called streams. So you can just log all the data, and then you can plot that data. So just bringing that your perspective to it is very important. I call it the Apple way. You take that feedback and then translate into something that first of all aligns to your long-term plan, and
Mhm.
also what you uniquely know about the space. And one question that we always ask ourselves is how a hardware developer would be using it. And hardware developers are a little bit different. They program differently. They know
Interesting.
the programming word from a less not I mean less the software way.
Yeah.
So for example, it's 100 lines of code. It's very simple. That is how most of the hardware programmers program.
Interesting. Okay, so normally there's not files on files on files for
Yeah.
all hardware engineers. Interesting. I had no clue. And I've never heard that advice before, but that's good advice on like take your user feedback, but like like with an asterisk of like curving it into your own
Yeah.
perspective because you don't want your users to take your product into a direction that wasn't even what you initially envisioned, right? Like you want them to help grow it, but you don't want them to completely like like make it go sideways. Like you want to keep on that vision that you had.
I
And
think we can look at also from the vision perspective, but one another dimension to it is sometimes users, I mean, they tell you about what they want, but in what form this is a gray area. I mean, you can add your own creativity to it.
Mm,
uh, Sometimes you can, I give an example, Tome, for example, it's a presentation tool that we're using now. Increasingly using it, and I loved it. I mean, I shared a feedback with them. I want more flexible layouts, for example. It's a storytelling tool at the core, and they took my feedback, and then they added, they added layouts, and it's very amazing. I cannot describe it, but
yeah,
they take your feedback, apply the creativity to it, and then it just blows your mind. Oh my god, this could be done this way.
yeah,
For example, I had I told you about the data part. So most of the people, they just wanted data storage, but
yeah,
then when we shared that earlier version with people, that you can store in the streams, more organized way to store data, they liked it. They liked the idea. Like Firebase, for example, uh, they started with this game messaging platform, and then they added a database to it, to let people
mm,
store data, and it just went skyrocketing. So
yeah.
that is how I look at it. You need to have a unique perspective, a unique angle to the feedback.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. Um, my other question to you
Yeah.
is, hmm, I think you talked a little bit about some of the rewarding parts, but like what has been the most rewarding thing to you in leading the startup? And then are there any like success stories or milestones that you've achieved as a startup?
Very may sound very little, but change a lot. It changed me a lot as a person. The first
Mm,
couple of issues, I guess, I don't know why people don't talk about it. It changes your morning, and you're like, shit, it, it matters. The first issue, at least. I mean, first people outside of the organization creating an issue on the platform. Gut punching feedback on Discord, or
mm,
Reddit, probably. I mean, I love it that people have a probably. I've loved people to be more soft with the feedback, but critical feedback sometimes give this idea that people care. And I mean, they are sort of hurt. I mean, they want that problem to be fixed. They really care about that so painfully. So that was the other first. I
yeah.
think the third first is when people reach you out to, for example, join your team. Those
Ooh,
were That is a very very big milestone, and I think it happened just this week. I mean, initially you start with friends, or early friends of friends, but then when people reach you out that we want to be part of this organization, and they're amazing, you wanted to hire someone like that person, and when they tell you about it very passionately, like why they love you,
yeah,
that changes your morning. And those are some of the best ups. People that don't, people, and when, for example, inside an organization, when people, or developers are, they for example don't go to an event, or just probably spend an extra day, or probably just make it more cool, because they just love that idea. They just wanted to probably spend their weekend on. I don't encourage that. I mean, I don't want people to, there needs to be balance. But when it happens very organically, I love it.
I love that, especially the when people want to work at your company. That's a cool feeling of like, wait
Yeah,
a minute, you think we're that cool that you want to work here?
yeah.
That's good.
I mean, that was the best one. And it happened just this week, and then I danced that morning, and I think it was an amazing feeling.
That's awesome. Okay. If y'all have any more questions um for him, feel free to put it in the chat. But we're nearing the end now. So
Yeah.
my call to action or just like is just like how can we support you? How can viewers support you? Do you have any like things that are coming up that we should follow you on? That you like any events, any social
Yep.
media
Yeah.
platforms?
I think first of all, there are two things that I wanted to mention. Just wanted to give everyone a perspective of where this can go, and
Mhm,
why it is right time to get excited about the hardware world.
mhm,
We see all the software innovations, we see ChatGPT and all these amazing, amazing innovations happening right now.
mhm.
But this is very right time to get started and start your own project in hardware space. And why? So I'll share my screen very quickly. Yep. Oh, sorry,
You
sorry, sorry.
typing it in? Oh, it's
Yeah.
okay.
And then also, I would love everyone to join our Discord, be a part of the community, whether you're a hardware developer or not, get involved, learn. So, one of the amazing things that we're doing now, and it's probably going to give everyone a perspective on where this entire thing is going. So, we're now working on or launching soon a AI integration with our platform. So, what's going to happen is think of it, we're building a brain in the cloud. So, all of your devices' data are there. Now with AI integration, you can build analytics on your data. You can set up alerts or literally query your data. So think of it as an AI assistant in the cloud for IoT developers, and it just bringing it full circle. When we imagined IoT, we think of devices which can make decisions or at least prefer decisions for us, make
Yeah.
our life more cooler. And this is the kind of experiences developers can now build for other humans and other people and their users. Like maybe a autonomous drone delivery company can born out of it, or a pet tracker, an autonomous pet tracker can happen. Uh, and that is where we're going, and that is where this entire ecosystem is going. So this is very exciting time to be alive, and exciting time to be a hardware developer. And I just want everyone to get started in this domain, get involved. Join our Discord. We do bi-weekly meetups. We do workshops where we try to teach developers on getting started with our platform, and not just our platform, but also other exciting things which is happening in this domain. So great way to get started. We also have a community on Hackster. This is where you can find a lot of examples and maybe tutorials. I'll share this link right.
Okay, yes, I want to put it in.
Yeah. So you can see tons of examples. We also have a GitHub examples, sort of like repository. So a lot of ways where you can, we're trying to help here and who love all of the community to get involved, show us the future and help us, build the future together. I mean, that is the idea.
This is awesome. And your Discord is, I love that y'all do workshops. First of all, you do it within the Discord
Yeah.
or okay, awesome.
It's also on the public, like the LinkedIn, and but majorly on our Discord. We do sometimes there are fireside chats where we invite successful hardware founders and startup founders to tell about their stories. We also have a blog now, which is about highlighting what other startups are doing to inspire people, to make it possible for people to see the future.
Yeah,
There's not enough conversation about what this space can become.
yeah.
Uh, Imagine how Coinbase was used to talk about, crypto in 2011. That is what this is about now.
This is great, especially just when you gave that vision of what you can eventually do with it, like maybe the autonomous drone delivery and stuff like that. This is really awesome. You're right, it's an exciting time to be in tech. I'm so glad that I'm within the engineering space and I get to see all the creations that people are
Yeah,
making because we can just imagine in a few years of all the change we'll be
yeah. I mean, let's
making.
imagine 5 years ago what was happening and what 5 years after.
Yeah.
It's a fulfilling journey.
Yeah, this is great. And so I just want to remind people, go ahead and go to I hope I'm saying it right. You said it was Grandeur. I hope
Yeah,
it's okay, cool.
it's a very right pronunciation.
Dev and then hackster.io. The GitHub repository will be a great reference for y'all for examples. And also if you want to contribute to their SDK, it makes an open source contribution or leverage the SDK.
And in fact, join us on Discord and tell us. I mean, we do also sort of like open launch weeks where we do sort of like this closed circles where people can tell us about their experience on this platform and probably help us build the next feature. I mean, it's so all of the organization is also on the Discord. So in fact, all the team members, they post regular updates. They interact with everyone. We play regularly, or at least try to, games on the platform. Among Us is our favorite. It's a good to hang out place. Yeah.
This is great. This is great. Someone was saying awesome. All right. So yeah, go ahead and join that Discord. I think you said they would find it if they go to the website.
Yeah.
I want to join it right after this. We'll quickly transition into some of like the fun questions I normally ask,
Sure.
and
I
then
love
we'll wrap up. Yay. Awesome. So First question is, what's your most used emoji?
Um, right now it's LOL, or sometimes that I don't remember what it's called, but the wide mouth open with the teeth coming out. So I like that emoji more. Yeah.
Awesome, love that. I always say I use the crying one because I'm either crying, laughing, or really crying. Um,
Uh,
what's what's like your favorite app on your phone?
it's Twitter. Yeah, I think that is the most used, I guess. Favorite, I guess, Notion and sometimes Tome. I love that. I love the applications. There's a new application. It's called Art Browser. I like that as well. It's it's
Interesting.
it's just inspiring. I mean, the UX, it's amazing. As a creator, it gives you that goosebumps feeling.
Okay, I'll have to look into that one. But I'm also, I guess I'm gonna say I'm addicted to Twitter a little bit. But yeah. All
Yeah,
right, at least I was.
place to
What'd you say? Sorry.
Twitter is an amazing place to be. It's an amazing bunch of people.
Right. Yeah, I love connecting with other developers and just hearing
Yeah.
how they think. What was your least enjoyable job ever?
I think right now it's difficult to answer. Least enjoyable. I think I don't entirely love going from one place to another. I don't like traveling a
Mm,
lot. In sense of regular traveling, and I think one of the things that we did initially did a lot of sort of in-person trips to users.
mm,
It was not, I mean, in sense of debugging, helping them debug, and I initially worked with some founders to actually debug their code. So that was also sort of a little bit, oh, you cannot type an array. I mean, that is the kind of experience you have initially days. So I worked on, for example, feed trips with my startup founders to see what end users are doing.
yeah.
Not least enjoy. Now I aspire it. I want to do it again, but at that time it sort of sucked.
Yeah, no, traveling is exhausting. I will say that as a developer advocate, before I became one, I was like, wow, they get to travel. That's so cool. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I have another trip coming up. This is a
Yeah,
lot. Um,
I think post COVID, I want to do more and more trips now.
yeah. And then my last fun question to you is like, what's your favorite rap song? Or if you don't like rap, what's your favorite song in general?
Uh, I love more and more now Coldplay. So
Yeah.
not as much of like a rap follower a
Yeah.
fan. It's going to be very lame, but I love Yellow.
Yes, no, that's good. I like
Yeah,
Coldplay too. They have a song with Beyonce. Dang it, I'm forgetting the name of it, but I really like that song.
yeah, yeah.
All
And
right.
I love a lot of indie artists. So that is probably the other. Yeah, a very diverse music sort of inclination.
I love it. I love it. No, I'm here for like all taste of music.
Yeah. Should
It was,
definitely go ahead and probably listen to Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. It's a classical singer from Pakistan and Pakistan origin, and you will love it if you like, different kind of music.
yeah, okay. I'll try that one out. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Before I do like any last words from you, I do want to tell the audience. I want to give the audience a little call to action. So, Moiz is currently part of the GitHub for Startups program, and I wanted to tell y'all about the GitHub for Startups program if you were interested in joining too. Basically, what we do is we help your startup go from idea to IPO on the world's largest and most advanced developer platform. If you're eligible, you end up receiving 20 seats of GitHub Enterprise for free for 12 months. And then also, I think Moise was even mentioning it as well, but you get a personalized onboarding experience, you get office hours, you get technical best practices. So we're here to give you advice and be of support to you. Also, if you are a technology leader, go ahead and apply now. But if you're not and you think that your company should get into this, talk to your leaders, talk to your VC team, and go ahead and have them apply for this. Also, I did see people saying, "Oh, there's only a little bit of people watching." It's because I think it's because one, this is a newer show, and then two, I did take a break last week because I was traveling at a conference. But I will love if y'all saw this and you're like, yo, Rizal and Moise are cool. I will love for y'all to keep tuning in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, because you're going to get more awesome people like Moise and more awesome startups to learn about, and learn how to support them and stuff like that. So please, please tune back in next week, Wednesday, and every Wednesday at 2 p.m. I wanted to ask you if you had any last thoughts that you wanted to add in before we go.
Thank you so much, Rizio, for just inviting in everyone in the team. It was an exciting time with the GitHub team, and I recommend everyone listening to the stream right now, definitely go ahead, be part of the GitHub Startups program. I had phenomenal experience, and I think the exposure, the help that you get is just amazing. And it's exciting time. Be super pumped. I love it. I mean, go out there, create something, put your creation alive, and don't forget to join this stream next for example week. I'll be here. I would love all of you to be here again.
Yes,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much. And then I just wanted to echo this comment that I seen. I just met you, but I'm super proud of you too. Like this startup is awesome and I'm excited to see it grow. I think I'm going to try it out. And I'm going to join the Discord too cuz I want to know more. Thank you so much to the audience as well for tuning in, for asking questions and being engaged. And thanks again Moise for giving us your time and your expertise. That is going to be it for the rest of the stream, y'all. Bye.
Thank you.